All right, it's a small group, so I expect questions and interaction as much as you want. We are going to have a combination of PowerPoint and live presentation. Adjust your screen accordingly. If you want to do a side by side, make me really large, make the PowerPoint small, or vice versa, however it works best for you. If you have questions as we go along, shout them out right away because I'm depending on how I'm sharing my screen, I may not always see you in here. So yell at me. All right, let me do a screen share first. And right now you should be seeing the Toastmasters website, but then I want to do my PowerPoint first. Katie specifically is the one who asked that we do some extra training on BaseCamp Manager in addition to just simply the VP of Education. So we came up with this date, Katie's schedule. So we are going to go over more specific of our BaseCamp Manager details. So we just touched on it a little bit on August 12th, but now we're going to really dive deeper into it. So we talked about as VPE that part of your job is BaseCamp Manager along with your club president and your club secretary. It's your job as BaseCamp Manager. You want to facilitate your member progress, and you do this by verifying the education, you approve requests, and you track progress on BaseCamp. When we start talking about reviewing and approving, it is a two-step process. I know some people are still confused that you approve in BaseCamp and then you have to approve and submit in Club Central. The submission in Club Central is what actually gives your club the credit on the dashboards. As part of your job as VPE and as BaseCamp Manager, make sure that you remind your members they should be completing that pre-assessment, reading through all the materials, give the speech, take the post-assessment, and then submit the that project completion. They want to mark it off so that it gets 100%. They want the check, check, check. And we will show more information on how you can actually view where each individual person is. If you are submitting a level 3 or higher award for someone into Club Central, talk with your member. Does that person want a letter? It's actually going to be an email to go to their supervisor and saying, hoo-hoo, Kris just completed a level 3, a level 4, a level 5, yay! You will need that supervisor's name and email address so that the email comes from Toastmasters International. Something else to be aware of when you are going through BaseCamp, if you have a member that belongs to more than just your one club, you need to communicate. As if the person is logged into another club, you will not have access to their information in your BaseCamp. If you are approving, because they're logged into your club, you're logged in, you approve their projects or their level completion, it can count towards Club Central for any club though. So any BaseCamp manager can approve any of the projects, but talk with the member. Is it your club that should receive that Club Central Education Award? So for me, I want Cream City to get my level 1 and level 2 of presentation mastery. I want professional career speakers to get the level 3 and level 4 of presentation mastery. And I want Sheboygan to get my level 5 presentation mastery. I need to make sure that everyone is on the same page of who is approving what and submitting what's necessary in Club Central. Collecting project completion forms. This is something probably, oh, Susan? Or are you just waving hello? You're on mute.
A quick question on that, because our brand new vice president of education had didn't do the 2 approvals, and so I did not get we had to go through a bunch of stuff to get it approved. When I belong to 2 clubs and I want to designate one of my levels toward another club, do I have to be on that club name in order for that to happen? Or is that something that happens when I communicate with the vice president of education, the BaseCamp manager?
Sure. So you're logged into DJAB. Yeah. So only the DJAB BaseCamp managers can approve your completion in BaseCamp. But you want that award to go to Menominee Falls. Yes. So as soon as you hit completion in your BaseCamp, you completed the level, the email goes off to your VP of DJAB. I would email DJAB right away and say, FYI, just submitted the level completion. Can you approve it in BaseCamp, but do not submit for Club Central for DJAB. I want this award, this level, to be awarded to Menominee Falls. And then probably include Menominee Falls VPE. FYI, DJAB BaseCamp manager is going to approve it in BaseCamp. Once it's done, VPE of Menominee Falls, please submit in Club Central. I want you to get this award. So you want to have that communication between them.
Good. Thank you for clarifying that. Appreciate it.
Okay, this is an interesting one. Collect project completion forms. With pathways, I don't know if any of you have come across any projects that a project completion form is required or needed. Not many projects require this, but when we start looking at some of them, there are 11 specific projects that when you go through your pre-assessment, you go through the videos, you go through the screens, you complete your assignment. When you're on that complete assignment page, you have your source for your link for your evaluation report or the evaluation form. You have it for the entire project that you can print out or save. And there's usually then the project completion form. So this is something that you complete first as the member who completed this project, and you send or give to your VP of education. They have to sign off on it to verify, yes, you did all of what you were supposed to for this project. There are also specific forms, and I'll show it a little bit later. If you have members in your club who are using the printed path, so I know the printed paths are now going away. You can't purchase them anymore, but you may still have members that are using that printed path. I've never worked with a member who uses that printed path, but I found out during some of my research here that there is a specific evaluation form that you sign off as VPE on their printed path for each level. And then I believe you can send that into TI and they will enter it in for the completion on it. So I have a picture of it coming up. All right, back to you facilitating your member progress. This is BaseCamp Manager, but it is also you as a member. I don't know how many of you do this. You can go in as yourself as a member and you can award badges to your other club members. This is one extra form of recognition that you can show to your fellow club members. As a BaseCamp manager, you want to visit BaseCamp, you want to confirm the completions. You can go in and see what their progress is on individual projects. You can see how much time they actually spent on a specific project. So if they open up the project, do the assessment, you read and go through all of the screens. Well, if they've only had that project open for 2 minutes, realistically, do you think they actually read the information? Did they take it in? Just saying. And then also as BaseCamp manager, if it's possible, this is another one of the building up self-confidence things that you can do to help your members. You can leave feedback for the speakers or any of the other members if they've held functionary roles. Give a comment, what they did well, what they could improve upon. Give some other suggestions. So again, it's an optional thing that you can do, but you never know. It might encourage someone to start stepping up a little bit more. All right, we are going to go through and talk a little bit more about some of the things you'll be doing as BaseCamp manager, how we actually go in and access the project and level completions, how you approve speeches if they are done outside your club, and then there's different dashboards available in BaseCamp. So first, you're going to log in to the TI, Toastmasters.org website, log in as yourself, and you want to go to My Home. Once you're at My Home, you scroll down a little bit, and you want to choose and click on Go to BaseCamp. Hopefully all of this is very familiar to you. Once you are in the BaseCamp, you are going to have two different sets of squares if you are a BaseCamp manager. So up on the top, these are my 3 clubs. So if I were to click on one of these 3, that would take me directly into my specific BaseCamp for that specific club. As you scroll down a little bit more, if you are a BaseCamp manager, looks like if you're just looking at the top of these squares, it looks the exact same, but it's in that lower left corner is BaseCamp manager. So if you want to make sure that you are clicking on the correct box, BaseCamp manager versus you as a member. When you come in, you click on the box for BaseCamp manager, and now you are going to have 3 options: pending requests, member progress, and manager tutorials. Manager tutorials, go in, play around. This is where you can learn a lot from watching the videos. The member progress, that's where the dashboards are, and we'll get into that in a little while. But the pending requests, once a member goes into their BaseCamp, they check that, yes, I've completed my project 1, project 2, project 3, and oh, I am done with level 1. Once the member marks a level completed, that will generate an automatic email to you. And the email basically says, hoo-hoo, Mr. or Mrs. BaseCamp manager, a member just finished something. You need to do some action. So you come in, you click on your pending requests, and oh, did I hide these? Oh, hang on. Hang on. I hid a bunch of slides because I didn't need all of them. And so let me change these up. This is what happens when you start to fiddle around with things when you don't have enough time. All right, so we clicked on pending requests, and now the screen that we get is hang on, I got it here. There we go, pending requests. This is the screen. It's a little bit fuzzy because of the place that I want to say that I borrowed some of this information from. On here, it's going to have a person's name of who you received that email from, basically, and it will tell you what the project or that level is that needs completion. You just want to verify for that person, and then you will be able to, on the right-hand side, there are 2 options. There's a green check mark or a red X. If you click on the check mark, the green check mark, that means that you are approving that request. That check it, boom, yes, I agree. You've done all the work. It is complete. We're good to go. Once you have checked this green check mark, then it will show up and populate in Club Central so that you can submit the education award there. If you see that oh, I know this member has never visited another club. They've only spoken once in the last 3 years. There is no way I know this person has not completed level 1. Talk with the member a little bit. Come to find out, oh, well, I just kept clicking, click, 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 click. I know I didn't do the projects. So you can click on here, you can choose that red X to deny the approval. So then it would go back and notice back to the member, they still need to do something. Once you click approve, there is a text box. So you can go in, you can type, it was approved by VPE Katie Adams on this date. Woohoo, congrats. Or if it's the president or the secretary. So it can help a little bit with communication. And then just click your submit button. This is the level completion request form if your member is using the printed path version. So it's a 1-page document. I've got the source on the bottom of the page, but it's just basically going through to verify who it is. So if they are using that printed path, you are submitting this to TI to enter into the system for the approval. So you've got your top information, and then you check which path information there is, and then it's your verification on here. All right, a couple reminders as BaseCamp manager. And I think I've said this, and I'm going to keep saying it over and over again. Pre-assessment, read the project, do the project, post-assessment, mark the project complete. Over and over again. A lot of members, after how many years, still miss this step. They're giving the speeches, they are interpreting based on a title of a project what it is, and they've not read anything. When you have new members to your club, or even some of your experienced ones, sit down and conduct a one-on-one with them. How do they use BaseCamp? How do they use pathways? How do they navigate? How do they pick a path? And if you want to give that extra recognition to your members, whatever level they are, did you know you can actually print out certificates for all their levels that they completed? So that's another option for you to show that recognition. I talked about this form during my VPE training session. This is a form that Kathy Shine created, and it's to help individual members keep track of where they are in a path. One downside of the digital version of Pathways, you can see when you've completed a project or completed a level, but there's not a quick, easy snapshot or a glance to see what still needs to be completed. And that's what this form is intended to be, that an individual can just look down, ooh, I still have to do this, I still have to do that. So all right. So I don't know how, I know you can't, this is my form. I know. It's not coming through real super clear, but it just gives me, I know I still have to do my introduction to vocal variety level 1, all of my level 2. I need to do a level 4 required and my level 5s. I don't have to go open up BaseCamp. I know what I have to do. This form then also helps me because I have my speech titles, what club I presented it, because I do travel around and give speeches at other places, who was my evaluator, and what was the date I gave it. This is also a great reference when I am preparing for the Reflect on Your Path speech, because now I can look back, and in addition to looking through my evaluation forms, just looking at my titles and where I presented is huge for me, because that generates those memories, makes it much easier for me. This is going to be a huge, huge resource for you. I just want to show you this and finish up the PowerPoint before I jump into the online real live action show. A lot of different resources. So many clubs, so many districts have great information already out there. No need to reinvent the wheel. So I'm going to send you all of this fun stuff. and actually this does not really conclude the session, but I am also going to include the VPE resources I shared at my training session. All right, so that's the end of the PowerPoint portion. Now we're going to go into some live action. So we are at Toastmasters.org. We are coming in. We are going to log in as you, or me in this case. So welcome, my home. That's where it takes us. As we start scrolling down, we have BaseCamp. And then as we scroll down, these three are the clubs I belong to for my individual BaseCamp, or here are my BaseCamp manager options for my three clubs, of which I am VPE of all three. I do not recommend that ever again for anyone. Way too much. When we come in, you can always customize your information on who is BaseCamp manager. So right now, Kathy's picture is in here because she had been our original BaseCamp manager. Here are your three main actions. Click on pending requests. And again, I'm in Cream City Communicators. There is nothing in here for me to review or approve. If there were, it would show up on here. Our next option is our member progress, and then we have that manager tutorials. If we click on our member progress, on the left-hand side, we have 6 different dashboard options. Individual progress, level completions, path progress, path type, recently selected, and external training. Did you know that if a member gives a speech outside your club, they really should formally submit an external training request? You approve it, and then you are proving that they can give the speech outside your club. And then when they are done, there's another step where you approve that, yes, you actually did that external training or external presentation. I'm the type of, if they just verbally let you know, especially if they belong to multiple clubs. Katie, just so you know, I'm actually presenting down at DJAB next week, Friday. And so you might be surprised on, that I didn't submit and do this speech at our club, but I really did do it. When you are looking in here, first time when you come in, I'm just going to go into individual progress. It will refresh for some information. So right now, lists in here all of the different members who are specifically logged in to our Cream City account. And then where are they in level 1 projects? So Kathy, she is on training title 23. I'm not logged in. Kim Hall is at training title number 2. So it goes through all your different projects. Level 2, Kathy, she's got 21. So it gives you that progress where they are in each aspect.
Kris, what does that mean, number 23? Like, what does that mean? Like training title number 23?
Yep. Let me see if it will. That's a good question. I need to get back to you on that.
Okay.
Kris, can I help with that one? If you click on the little drop down arrow on the right up in that box and it says view details, it'll kick out a PDF where you can see like all of the ones that Kathy is completed through there.
Okay. There we go. In progress, completed. And these are all going back through. So it's not just what she's currently doing. This is showing all of her projects completed back from when she started in Pathways.
Okay.
So that's where that 23 comes in for this level 4. Thank you so much, Liz. See, I learned too. That's what I love. Scott.
You're welcome.
And I guess now that I saw that detail, it may make more sense. But I guess what I was wondering too is if you skip around in your level, you do the third speech instead of the second speech. This just seems to be counting the total number of speeches given. It doesn't have. It's not sequential, I guess. I can see that in that detail that you just had, where there were a couple of in progress in the middle of some of those levels. So that makes more sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. I do know once in a while when you're in here and you're trying to do this options refresh and pull up the details, oftentimes these dashboards take a very long time to pull up the data. All right, I've tried to make the screen a little bit bigger. Another place where you can find specific information on a member. In the search bar up here, if you type in a person's name or just start typing the name, the letters, it will give you different people in your club. So AA. So I've got Jim, Karen, Kamal, and Kathy because I typed KA. That's what comes up. So we're going to click on Kathy, and now we've got her BaseCamp profile. So when we come in here, we can look down, what is she all populated in her profile? So this is all information that as a regular member, you can do this on your own. So she put in a picture, she's got her email. This is a summary. Kathy's another great contact for Pathways. So she can do some one-on-one training as well, do the screen shares, walk you through. You have her specific interests. The interest, the summary, the email, this is all optional information. Normally, for most people, when I look at them, you have the person's name, and it does give, if the person is an officer in your club, it does list their role. But most people will just have their name in the club name, and then the additional information. The additional information, how long have they been a member? What is their most current credential? So DTM is the highest you can be. And Pathways mentor, she is a no, which is surprising because I know that I am. But then on the right side, we've got all of the different meeting roles. And it's showing when she held that role for the last time. This is an area where most members do not go in and populate what the meeting role was that they held and the date. This is something that they need to be doing because if they read through the Navigator, which is an online tutorial about BaseCamp and the Pathways program, there are several required meeting roles they have to hold by the time they finish level 3 and or level 5. So on my little cheat sheet for the member achievement, we do have it spelled out here. So your speech evaluator is a requirement by the end of level 3. And actually, everyone should be completing that in level 1 because that's part of their assignment in the evaluation and feedback project. Toastmaster is a requirement by the end of level 3, and Table Topics Master by end of level 3. Table Topics Master, you can get dual credit. If you are holding Table Topics Master, you can get credit for holding the actual functionary role, but the Table Topics Master can also be evaluated and get credit for active listening. Depending on the path, it could be either a level 2 or a level 3 elective. So that's something to look at, but it's not just being the Table Topics Master. All right, what's your favorite color and why? All right, Katie, you answer it. Great. Susan, what's your favorite color and why? Part of the active listening is to listen to those responses and give a quick little summary or recap for each person. So it goes beyond, so it's just not automatic that they get that credit for active listening when they're the Table Topics Master. All right, so now, so we've got Kathy, we've got her profile. If we hover on Paths and Learning and then click, because most times it gives you the drop down. So now we are in her path information. So she's working on club building initiative, effective coaching, strategic relationships. These are her paths that she's working on. Down below, whole bunch of projects and information that she's pulled up, she's used. If you want to learn a little bit more about what is she doing in strategic relationships, if you click on Open Curriculum on the right-hand side, it looks very similar to your own personal BaseCamp, where you are. Your left-hand column gives you your percentage of completion for all of your levels. So she has actually completed levels 1 through 5, but she has not done the path completion that reflect on your path. So level 1, completed 5 out of the 5. If you click on your view details for any of your levels, gives you your check, boom, boom, boom. And here, for each one of your levels, this is where you can click on view certificate, and you can print this out for your member. If you are doing this, and let's say I came in and she completed this level, a year and a half ago, we were under a different international president from when she'd actually completed it. Does not matter when you actually completed it. That date will still always remain here, the date of the completion. Whoever, though, is the current, so if you're printing this out today, it is always going to be updated to the current international president. I found this out because I went and I pulled a couple of my old certificates because I decided to put a certificate wall on my cubicle at work, my path completion for all of my paths. And so I had a couple of them from 2 years ago, and I was expecting Lark Doley, and no, it was Matt Kinsey because I just printed it now. But you can print this out, you can download it and save it and email it to the person, whatever you need. If we click on, if you click on any one of the project names, so writing a speech with purpose, now this is coming in. You get a little bit of information. What is their training progress? This is where I had mentioned, did the person spend 2 minutes on this project or not? So here, she completed the whole entire thing. She was in there at least 2 times. Probably the first time doing the assessment, reading through all the project information, go back in again, do the post-assessment and the completion. Her entire time that she was viewing and looking at this information was just over 1 hour. And then if you want, you can get more details. Okay. So you can look through any of that information. All right, so now let's come back. So now we are still in Kathy's information. If you click on feedback, you can come in and give information back to Kathy. So you can type in information. You can choose who is going to be able to see this comment. Everyone who can log in and get the information. If you're a fellow club member and you're going in and typing comments and feedback to her, you'll be able to see anything that's marked for anyone or everyone. What I've been doing for my own personal ones, whenever I get feedback in the chat from people after a speech, I will copy all that, paste it into a Word document, clean it up, and then I will put down, so August 3rd, Kenner Toastmasters in Louisiana, level 3 speech of whatever, and then the comments. Here's the first person, and I only put their first name and then their comments. And I'll run through all of those. And it makes me feel good to be able to go back and see those specific comments. As a BaseCamp manager, you can also award badges. So this little icon, the little necklace with the number 1 on it, you can give feedback in that visual method here. Are they adaptable, collaborative, courageous, inspirational? She is just always inspirational and post it. And then if you want, you can include an attachment. So if you have your evaluation form you'd want to share with her, if you would want to add in you typed up your own document with feedback on it, you can put that in there. Or maybe you'd want to upload and attach the certificate of completion. So you have those different options. Okay, I'm going to log out as BaseCamp manager here and then come back in again.
Kris, one quick question.
Yes.
Is the best way to track progress for each of our members by going into each one of their individual profiles and looking at what they've completed?
It's a combination.
Okay.
I think between going in for each one. So when I started this year, I went in and looked up everyone's individual progress, because then I actually made appointments and had meetings one-on-one with everyone. I wanted to find out what they want to accomplish this year. How does that fit in with our DCP goals? And then how do I help that person reach those goals? So if their goal is this year, they want to compete in the international speech contest. Well, I've been a member for a year and a half, but I've only given one speech. Well, requirement is you have to complete levels 1 and 2. We got to get this stuff scheduled. You have to do that work first before we have our club contest. When is your club contest? Has to be completed by January 18th. So if you're scheduling your club contest on January 17th, they have to have all those requirements done by the 16th. That club contest on the 17th cannot be their last requirement to complete level 2. They would not be eligible. All right, so I'm coming back into BaseCamp. And now, so Cream City. Okay, so then we've talked about pending request, member progress, manager tutorials. Clicking on that one. So here, when you come into the manager tutorials, we have different options, 6 different options to go through and learn more about being a BaseCamp manager. I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can look at these and play with them on your own. One of the cheats that I found today, BaseCamp manager duties. It's a 44-page document. What do you need to do in BaseCamp to support your club? Level completions, the path completions and printing materials, projects outside the club, tracking progress, individual progress dashboards. So you can use this to help you through finding how to do certain tasks. It's a nice document. I know it says 44 pages, but there's basically only 2 screenshots per page and very basic descriptions. So in the list of resources, I do have the link for this file for you. Another good one that I found, and the resource is also listed, Pathway Projects, and it's the Path and Projects catalog. So if you have not looked through, and if you're not necessarily familiar with all of the projects and what's involved in the paths, this could be something that maybe you want to save and put it as a shortcut on your desktop. Another similar one, but much shorter, is just the paths and core competencies. I have paths and core competencies. I keep this right next to me at all times. So when I'm talking with someone and they, well, I don't know what I should do. And well, what project do you suggest that I take? All right. Which path are you in? Oh, I'm in persuasive influence. I need to figure out what to do for level 3 and level 4. I said, all right, what type of projects are you dealing with at work? What do you want to learn? Just if you've never really used PowerPoint, maybe you want to challenge yourself using presentation software. So just having the titles of the different projects is a great help. I'm quite familiar with what's involved in each of these projects. If you're a newer BaseCamp manager, you may want to use this 80-page document. And I say that because what's nice with this one, it is, I'm going to say, interactive. Click on the first page, it has all 11 paths. If you click on it, it gives you that quick little sentence introduction, and now it jumps you down to the team collaboration. Here's your information about that specific path. Now it's going through all of the details on what's in level 1, what's in level 2. Level 3, you have your mandatory required project, and then electives. Choose 2. Using software, presentation software. What's that about? You can click on it, and now you've got information about what's involved for that project. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Purpose is to introduce or review basic presentation software strategies for creating and using slides. Kind of interesting. Oh, write a compelling blog. That's kind of cool. Oh, it's only a 2 to 3 minute speech. Oh, wait. Minimum of 8 blog posts in 1 month. That's a lot. You must receive approval from the VP of Education to blog on behalf of your club. So maybe you want to focus on something personal. So this is a really good document to give you that explanation and overview of what to expect in any of those paths. On the table of contents, we have all of the projects listed. So when we were talking about the project completion records, so the one on, which was there? Project completion. All right, building a social media presence. This one requires submit the project completion form to your VP of Education to receive credit for completing the project. And then down here, project includes the project completion form. So it's good to know some of these little tidbits. Another wonderful, wonderful resource, if you have not yet logged in and into the internet, whatever browser you want, and gone to the Cream City Communicators website. If you come just on their homepage, our website is normally updated at least twice a month, that there's some little tidbit that's been updated. Left-hand side, we have a ton of specific pages that we have created, including a Pathways page. Coming in on Pathways, here's your welcome. 11 specialized learning paths to choose from. That's this 12-page document, real quick overview of what's involved in each project. The brief video of Pathways and Actions takes you out to YouTube. It's one of the TI videos. Just a real brief overview. What happens? What are you working on in each of those levels? And then more resources. If you want for your club, you can come in here and just do a copy, highlight it all, do your copy, create a new Pathways page on your club website, hit your paste. Kathy has given this approval to any and everyone. She just talked about it the other night on a club support session. So that is an option. One club, what they do instead, Pathways. You click on Pathways and it takes them to Cream City's website for this page. So they didn't even bother to copy and paste it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I love it. We have the BaseCamp managers and the manager duties. This is that 44-page document. And then realize your potential. What questions do you have now?
I have one, Kris. Is there a way to confirm a speech or a path, I should say, that I recently signed off on for a member, but I can't remember which path it was? Is there a way to confirm that?
I would either check back with the member, check if, does your secretary record all the paths and speech titles and levels? Because we always request that our members submit a form that has all of that information on there. So that should be saved with your regular meeting minutes or saved as just an extra document. So you can always go back and use that as a reference to double check.
There's not dashboard or any report to run?
Not that I have found, because
Okay.
some members still haven't chosen their path,
Sure.
or they have no idea what they want it to go to. So
Okay.
tonight, Susan is evaluating me. Generic evaluation. I don't know what I'm going to apply it for yet.
Okay.
And with those generic evaluation forms, this came up last year as a question. Technically, you could complete an entire path with all generic evaluation forms. I would not recommend it. I think for mine, I think the most generic evaluation forms I've ever used in a path has been 2. And I look at my completion record, what do I still have to complete? And then I'll try, because I kind of have in my head what the purpose of it is. So I will try and throw in what that purpose is during that presentation. I would never put a generic evaluation for this session in for my HPL, because that is nowhere near what any of that project purpose is. So use your judgment on those. Yes, you can do an entire path with generic forms, but when we start thinking of our values, integrity, respect, service, and excellence, what is the member really learning if they're not going through the pre-assessment, all the tutorial information, give the speech, post-assessment completion? They're not learning. And if that's their choice to not learn, that is just boom, 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 checking a box. They're not there for the development, my personal opinion. So take it for what it's worth on that one. All right, other questions?
I have a question and a comment, Kris.
Yes. Susan.
Oh, okay. You had mentioned in the very first segment that the BaseCamp manager can either select the the red X or the green check. So let's say that you say, I don't think they completed it, and you go back and you have a discussion with the Toastmaster and you find out you were correct, or you find out that they really did it and forgot some stuff and they go back and they complete it. Will that reset on its own, or do you get a chance to do it again?
It will, so the member will be able to go back in and resubmit that completion.
Okay.
So let me log in as me on something here. Let me share my screen again. All right, so when I come in on my personal BaseCamp, so BaseCamp, I'm going to come in as me. I'll pick Cream City. So now all my different paths. So here, I will show you when I come up on my little gearbox to my account, you will see I have all my dates in here, wide variety. So now if I come over to my paths and learning, so right now I am working on 3 different paths: effective coaching, persuasive influence, and presentation mastery. So let's come into presentation mastery, open curriculum. So level 1, level 2, or project 1, project 2, I do not have introduction, and I've got the whole evaluation and feedback. Level 2, I don't have anything done. Level 3, I got an evaluation for persuasive speaking. I just have not actually activated and gone through it because I've done this one 4 different times. So I know what's involved in it, but I have it marked down that I've done it. I've got my elective projects. So if I were to come in, so let's say for my level 4, I have not done this yet, but if I came in and I activated and I started going through, and then I'll just keep going through, I'm going to mark the whole project complete. And then I can mark my level complete. And this is where Katie, I know that she didn't do it. I know she didn't do it. And that could be that discussion. Well, I actually did that presentation up in Canada last week. I thought I mentioned it to you. Did you forget? Oh yeah, I remember that now. Can you go back in and you or mark it again as complete so it can get generated for the email to me again? Or, yeah, you're right. I never actually did that one. I don't know what happened. I messed up. Let me go in and I have to give that presentation now. I've done that a couple of times when showing for the tutorials. I'll go through, mark it as complete, but I know I have not done that project. So that's where I have it on this list here. If it's blank on here, even though it's marked on here on the tutorial or on the BaseCamp, I know I still have to go back in and actually do the work.
Okay, that sounds great. I wasn't sure it was how the mechanics of it worked. So the person has to go in and just resubmit it, and then you, as BaseCamp manager, see it needs approval, and you just go through the process again.
Yes.
Okay, I just had, and my other thing was a comment when you were talking about how important it is to give feedback and save the feedback. One of the things that we started doing in Menominee Falls Club is for the people that are online or they're in the room and they're still online, we've created some survey monkeys for each of our speakers so they can fill it out there or fill it out a little bit later, and it goes to one person who puts the summaries together. What I have done with those that I've received on my summaries, I've gone to my documents part of my path and saved it in there. And I name it such that it's like an L1, so level 1, and preceding that, it might say PML1, Presentation Mastery Level 1. So I can throw that into either the level 1 or in the comments.
So yeah, I've saved in a bunch of my files. I don't save all of them, but I'll come in and I'll save my different evaluations. And so I can always come in and look at the comments again. Scott.
So that's useful. That way I don't have to cut and paste them into the evaluation section. I still save them.
Right.
Other people can't see it, but that's okay because it's for me.
Right. All right.
Thanks,
Scott. Sorry.
Wow. Well, now I got 4 questions. Thanks, Susan, for prompting me with a 4th one. So the first one, before I forget that one, Susan, is there a best practice? Is that Survey Monkey written up anywhere? That's something I would love to see a little bit more on, and so that we could implement in our club, because that's one of the areas that I think we could do better on, is that feedback during the meeting to our speakers. And so anything like that would be like a best practice or a how-to might help me get started on something like that. And so thank you on that if you do.
And seeing what we use, if you would stick your email address into chat so that I can print that off, I will send you a copy of what ours looks like. It's very simple. It's 3 questions and it follows along with the general evaluation form. So you're giving that feedback to the person. They get to keep it. They can do whatever they want with it. And it follows so that they have a record. And
Susan? Okay, she froze. Scott, you're still moving, so.
Creating a survey.
There we go.
Are you?
Okay.
All right. Well, thanks, Susan. 3 more questions, Kris. Sorry to pile on here at the very end. So I'm a president, so I'm not a VPE. And so one of the things inside that individual progress dashboard, I try and click on the details for a person and I'm not getting anything. Maybe it's my browser. I am using Google Chrome. And so maybe that pop-up is broken, but is the president more limited on some of that BaseCamp manager functionality?
Should not be limited, no.
Okay.
You should have all the same access as your VPE and secretary on that.
Okay, I will test it in a different browser and see. Okay. Another question is that project, that little form that you have that you're kind of tracking all that, are you providing a link to where I find those? Because I need to get started on that myself. I will be sending out
an email to everyone here. If you put your email in the chat box, I'll send you a copy of the initial PowerPoint, all the list of the resources, and then there are a couple of files that I'll attach to, including that individual member achievement completion form. Yes.
Great. And I forgot what that other question was. So I'm good. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else have questions? Any questions on how you do anything as a regular member for BaseCamp?
Well, I certainly appreciate this because I have never realized all the level of opportunity to use pathways as broadly and as detailed as I should be. I didn't, really look into those folders. I didn't really look into the aspect of some of these other parts of pathways. And unfortunately, I've been a Smoky or a Toastmasters member now since 2019. And I am really just getting started with my own pathways. It seems like I've jumped into officer roles and been so busy doing other things that I've not been able to focus on my pathway. But I am really going to implement a lot of what you shared just
And
as an individual Toastmaster member, not so much the BaseCamp manager.
And that's something else. And I think I talked about in my VPE training. Start looking ahead because you're level 1, level 2, some of the level 3, you can prepare for it in just a few days. I don't know how long it takes you to complete a speech or write a speech and practice it, but an icebreaker, I can do that top of my head, 3 minutes notice. But when you start getting into some of those other projects, so level 3, focus on the positive. You're supposed to journal for 2 or 3 weeks and then review your information and give a speech on how you kind of analyzed that information. When you get down your HPL, high performance leadership, you get a team together, they work on a project, you're helping to guide and delegate. That's not something you can just boom, do right away. Creating a podcast, I think it's 10-minute increments of a podcast. The blog, at least 8 different blog posts. So manage projects successfully, leading in your volunteer organization, whether it's Toastmasters or another organization. I think that's a 6-month time frame that you're an officer or that you're leading in that organization. So some of these you want to start looking ahead because, I can start using this year as club president. And then in the spring, I can give that speech on leading in your volunteer organization. So it's always good to look ahead. You can open up every single project in every level and read through, take your pre-assessment, read through the whole project, and then I really don't want to do this one. And then go and open another one. Just because you activate a project does not mean you are committed to doing that project, unless, of course, if it's a mandatory requirement.
Oh, I know what my 4th question was.
Sure.
So one of the aspects is that you mentioned was, and this is where I'm not quite that familiar with that terminology, but we talk about achievement awards. Is an achievement award the completion of a level in a pathway, or is it just even a completion of a project?
You get the completion certificate after you've completed an entire level. And then there's a path completion once you've done reflect on your path. You can give individual recognition. Ooh, Susan, she completed her very first icebreaker in presentation mastery. But so you can do some of that type of recognition individually. When you are out on the dashboards, so one of the things that we'll oftentimes do, so this is for Cream City. So right now we are at 17 members. We've already completed 3 out of our 10 goals. We discuss this at every single meeting. Where are we? Because if it weren't for the efforts of all of our members, we would not have 3 goals. Then we'll start looking through. And this is where Katie, when you'd asked about, do you just do that individual progress or anything? I'll start looking at what they have already done. How far away are they from completing one of the goals that we need? All right, looks like Scott only needs to finish up that the feedback and evaluation project, and that's a level 1. Perfect. Susan, she just said that she just bought a brand new path. I know Susan, she can easily complete a level 1 before the end of June. So that's 2 out of the 4. again, looking at your other members, where are they? How far realistically could they complete? If Susan just started a path, is it realistic to think that she's going to finish level 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? Is she a member of dual clubs or more than one club? Which completions will she give to my club versus the other club? So you always want to, there's so much kind of behind the scenes to think about.
And so I think the VPE has to be most complex as well as most engaged officer role. And certainly, as you mentioned earlier, don't ever be VPE of 3 clubs at one time. So,
and district officer.
Right. And so I'm assuming that you are kind of blocking out some discrete time to go through all your members' records like you just showed us. I mean, are you doing this monthly or are you trying to do this quarterly? I want to know how I can support my VPE here.
Sure. Well, I did all of mine right in the beginning of July because that's when I had access to 2 of the clubs. So Sheboygan, because I was president last year, I actually started pulling the information the end of June, but I couldn't do Cream City or professional career speakers until July. And so then that first week, things were calm. I had no club meetings, so I just carved out my evening time. All right, I'm doing Toastmasters tonight. And I just started going through it. I did do, let me see if I can find the file real quick. So Cream City. Member progress. Okay. So this is what I put together. So I just started going through. So she's in strategic relationships. She only needs to complete reflect on your path. And then I know that she had another path, but I can't find it in her information. And she's working on her DTM. She has not entered in her functionary role. So that's something to work with her on. Margarita, same thing, needs to enter in those roles. She's working on effective coaching. Her goal for this year is to complete her level 1, and her motivational strategies is done. So now I've got a level 1. That's what I can add to our, I'm going to call it the club success plan of who's going to complete what. And then for me, so my goal for that club is presentation mastery levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At that time, I was working on 3 paths. Last year, I completed 20 levels because I was able to give 5 to each of because I started out with 3 clubs who each got the 5, and then the 1 club folded. I transferred membership to PCS, and I was able to give another 5 awards to them. So I had 20 last year, but all mine are in here. PCS was a hard one because all of our members have to belong to another club. So they are not logged in as PCS BaseCamp for me to pull their information very often. So yeah, it's fun. You have to be very proactive. If as president and if you're a secretary too, coordinate with your VP of E, because all 3 roles are going to receive that email that there's an approval waiting. So if you know that you're checking your email every 2 hours and you're going to see it, you jump in, you approved it right away, and then the VPE, well, there's nothing in here. Be courteous of, you went in, send that email to the other BaseCamp managers. I went in, I got it approved, and then I also submitted it to Club Central. All done, taken care of.
Nice. Wow.
All right. We are past our time. I thank each and every one of you for spending your extra 5 minutes with me. And if you have questions, again, you'll get the email with my contact info, and we will talk to you anytime soon.